Dear students, this is Professor Venkatachalapathi, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. I would like to discuss about destructive testing. So in this manufacturing process, another interesting topic in the third unit in weldings, in welding, destructive testing. So what are the basic importance of destructive testing? Destructive testing, which is carried out to find the mechanical properties and its behavior of the materials, behavior of the test specimen of different type of materials by destroying it, and what are the various types of tests to be conducted, and either it may be tensile strength and compressive test and impact test, and sometimes constructive test is a different type of test will be available. So these are comes under the destructive test. So let us see, especially in the weld inspection, the destructive test most widely used. Whatever the raw material of the welding, so it is a base metal, or when it is that filler rod, and what about the equipment, how the tooling will be there, all these comes under how do you perform these parts will be effectively done or not, and how do you conduct the test before welding and while performing welding and after completion of the welding process. As I had discussed in the earlier sessions, the term welding can be defined as it is the process of joining to similar or dissimilar metal by adding filler without adding filler metal, by application of pressure without application of pressure. This is what about the technical definition of welding. And the major important this weld inspection destructive test. So this is the one of the most important test while performing the welding process, and based on this test you can able to identify what are the defects and what are the problems and what are the positive side, what are the strength and what are the requirement of the weld equipments, that we'll discuss in detail. So coming to this introduction of weld inspection destructive test, as you know that it can be majorly depends on the quality control. Yes or no? So here the quality control can be defined as whenever any industry, so whatever the raw material is converted into a finished product, by completion of the component, it is going to be tested the output of the component. The component will be exactly as per the requirement of the customer or not. So that is why in any industry there should have one quality control department. In that quality control department, the main aim of the quality control department is to analyze the various important tests to be conducted, and also what are the quality products. For example, if you manufacture 1,000 number of components, can you get 98% of the components will be acceptable or not? So like that, there are different type of charts also to be performed while performing the quality control also. So nowadays advanced technology also can be used in the quality control usages. As you know that the term quality can be defined as it is the meeting the customer specification. As you know that quality means meeting the customer specification, meeting the customer specification, or fit for end use, which is also called fit for end use. And the quality control is the department where you can perform all the activities in the department. There is a quality control inspector or an engineer will be allotted to do all the inspection of the completed items, either it may be welding or casting or any other manufacturing process. So in this case, whenever while performing the destructive tests, so this is very important. Destructive test means you have to conduct the completed component. So in this case, the welding industry to monitor the quality of the items to be produced. What are the different quality of items to be produced or not, based on this destructive test only can able to identify. And all the manufactured items are made to specification, especially when you wanted to produce a component, either the component has been produced as per the requirement of the customer or not, and the customer also they will give some specification limit to some tolerances also they may given. Based on that tolerances it has been achieved or not, that may be done in the quality control department, and the test we can perform in this case is destructive test. Okay, suppose when you wanted to have a tensile strength, when you wanted to identify the compressive strength and impact strength, the necessary instrument and necessary equipment is required to test the component. And another important thing is inspections must be made during the after the manufacturing cycle to ensure that parts meet the requirements of space. That is what I have been explaining. Whenever a customer requires some specifications, so for example, when you wanted to produce some electronic components, some mobile phones, so the mobile phones they have all the requirements, like a mobile have some magnification of the camera pixels, and it have more charging facility. So like that, so many specifications he has to give. Based on that, the manufacturer can able to do that, and finally after testing, so it can able to withstand. If you fell down to the floor, it can break, or how many times it is able to fall down anywhere the floor or anywhere else. So we are human being, suddenly any component may be fell due to improper thinking, and some disturbances occur. So in such cases, it should be to be strong. While when 100 to 1000 times also you can do in wherever do it, it may be very active, good strength. Like that, not only mobile phone, any type of component, that is a commodity items or either it may be some industrial items, the customer specification is the key role. When you give the exact requirement of the customer, definitely you may have the good profit, and that word from that customer, you can improve your output also, so the product also can be improved effectively. This is what about the weld inspection destructive test means. Some of the major destructive tests are there, either compressive strength and tensile strength, and what you call, and some microstructural strength, and some what you call impact strength. All these will be conducted completion of the product in any type of manufacturing, especially in welding means they have performed effectively or not, the surface quality is good or not, that the strength of the welded component is effective or not. These things should be considered to understand the in the quality control department. Now let us see the where the inspection areas. So in the welding, while performing the welding, okay. So whenever you should able to identify the what are the inspection areas you performing the welding or fabrication process, and that is depends upon the application of the that usage, either it may be automobile application or aeronautical application, or any type of application, what you need to be check the quality control engineer, and that you should able to discuss one by one. So let us see inspection areas. So in general, inspection areas means the welders. So welders need to ensure that all aspects of the operation are performed correctly or not. So at a minimum, the welder should check the following major areas, such as first thing is base metal is as specified or not. So for example, so there will be one plate. Okay, so here this is a base metal. So this base metal where you are performing. So the base metal, whatever the specification, that is length and width and thickness. So the three are as per the customer requirement or not. First you can check up the base metal as specified, what you obtained are correct or not. And the second thing is joint design. Joint design as specified within required tolerances. That is what. So how much distance? For example, this is a 100 mm and this is 50 mm. When you wanted to join two pieces, either it may be similar or dissimilar metals, when you are both are joining, so at how much distance you can keep. So in general, so the component you can able to perform welding. First you can able to prepare some V type. So in that groove, how you can able to check, okay, in this how much distance you can keep, the distance between the two work pieces, how much to be left, either 5 mm or 10 mm or 2 mm, based on the requirement only you can able to identify. This is called the that weld bead length and all, and you can perform welding in this small gap only. Okay, so either it may be left to right or right to left, or it is a horizontal or vertical, and how they require to perform a good quality weld, accordingly they can able to observe. So that is why in the joint design, exactly which type of welding can be used, either arc welding or gas welding or any advanced type of welding, accordingly you can select the joint design specification limits. So that is what required tolerances. So tolerance is plus or minus 5 mm. Okay, plus or minus 5 mm or plus or minus a micro 0.01 mm. So like that, how much you can need to provide the that weld joint design, that much only you can able to maintain. If it is exceed, it is a problem. It is not exceed also, there is a problem. The customer always required to, you can weld approximately the joint design is plus or minus 5 mm can be allowed. For example, you can see the total 100 plus 50 means 150. Yes or no? 100 plus 50 means 150 in that complete joint. Okay, so this is the final joint design component. In this case, it can be performed welding, and this distance should be maintained. So 5 mm. 5 means approximately, if you see 100 plus or minus 5 mm. So 100 plus 150, so plus or minus 5 mm. So either 145 or 155. So at maximum. So here the same workpiece can be done in this case, so that how much joint design should be maintained also to be one important parameter in this case. Okay, so this is what joint design specification. And another thing is filler metal type and size are correct. What type of filler? If it is arc welding process, the electrode, what type of filler, what is the material, how much you can able to fill. So it is overlapping, and that type of also you can able to check the correct filler metal can be used. After using that, after performing the welding, when you check this all destructive test, that is tensile strength and compressive strength and impact strength, you can able to see, perform the hardness and how much strength it has been produced, that you can able to determine. And that is the one important thing in the welding process. And coming to this equipment, welding equipment also one most important, it is available under operating satisfactory or not. For example, if you take the arc welding process, okay, what is the setup, the workpiece and electrode holder and filler metal, and that generator, either DC generator has been provided, so the earth can be done or not. If it is a AC welding process, so there is a neutral and positive, negative, and again we should the earth component is fixed or not also you can able to test. Okay, so if the equipment itself any problem is obviously the final joining fabrication the component itself also lead to be some defect may be occur. So that is what about this requirement uh, of welding equipment, and you should maintain properly in this case. Okay, and next thing is tooling also one most important parameter. So it has been adequately tested to determine that it will be properly support the operation or not. So tooling in the sense the setup. So if the two pieces are you fixed effectively or not, two pieces can you fix it effectively or not, any distance can be maintained, and the support of the tool workpiece can be kept in the table or not, all these things should be considered. So if there any changes occur, definitely it leads to be some vibration at which leads to be unwanted weld quality can be occur. Okay, so that is what about the inspection areas to be tested. Then only you can able to identify the various destructive test in this case. Okay, now another important areas in the welding inspection. So some parts have been properly cleaned or not. So the welding or fabrication process, any type of this, any material. Okay, the two pieces either same or different type of material, the metals can be cleaned properly or not. You should filing can be done effectively. So if you are not filed, rust formation occur, it will be some problem with that the chemicals from the filler metals also reacted can be occur. So and also another interesting thing is welder training and certification is sufficient for the weld operation, especially even in academic institutions also. Even student wanted to perform welding, they are not allowed. Why? Because there will be a sparks can coming out. It is a very highlight if it that will fell and your eyes may be spoiled. Sometimes in traditionally there is a problem when student got problem in their eye, it is supposed to be removed also because of that spark can fell on that one. That is why we should take the precautionary steps. Okay, you should wear the apron, goggles, and whatever the hand gloves, and all things should be considered while performing welding. So initially you should take a training. So welder can give the proper training as per the performing your good quality. So that is why in some standard institutions, okay, so some welding institutions also is there. There they will give some certification. So if you perform 1 month training program on welding, so they can give some ISO certification. Based on that, that person can allotted to do the welding process. But he or she know the what are the basic precautions and the basic requirements is important to performing the welding process. Especially all the private affiliated engineering college, the welding can be done that non-teaching staff itself. So especially in IITs and NITs only, they will give only the material and what are the requirement of the tools and equipment, and they will provide it, and they left to that some other department. The student itself, we can able to study properly, we can identify 1 or 2 times only, the welder gives some training. So after that he or she should able to identify the effective welding, proper welding procedure, then he can perform the welding. So after completion of the welding, all the tested material can be appropriate, the strength has been achieved, and it is having a good compressive strength or impact strength also, they will check with this destructive type of testing machines. And another interesting thing, inspections and test. So in any component you should have some basic inspection and test should be conducted after completion of the welding operation or during the operation or completion of the welding operation to be specified, so that after that the chip can be removed with the chipping hammer also will be there. Then after cleaning also with the smooth files will be performed so that good quality can be obtained in the welding process also. So these are the basic areas which is really needed for destructive testing of machines. Now let us see the inspection in welding. So in general, you have studied the in casting, identifying the casting defects in the section in the area, foundry area, all the topmost members and the respective in charges in the various material and testing and quality control, they gather together and identify the defect. But a similar case in welding also, the how do you inspect in this welding? What are the different type of defects may be obtained, and how we can able to have idea for inspecting the welding process, not only for the base metal and joint design and the type of filler metal to be used, equipment setup is given proper or not, the proper tooling can be arranged in order to avoid the vibration, etc. Okay, this is what about the inspection in welding process. Next, let us see the main importance of destructive test. So there are the basic important type of destructive test is, these are used for welder qualification or certification. So whenever there is a series of welding procedure will be there, that welding procedure also based on the qualification. In traditionally ITI diploma students more actively participated while performing the welding in his or him itself only. So nowadays destructive testing means it is the process, or it can be carried out on the material in order to find out the various properties and behavior of the material, properties and behavior of the material, and the test specimens. Okay, the what are the test specimen under applying the different loads, so we can able to get proper properties or not, it can be achieved or not. That is another one point to be understand clearly. The second thing is, in a large production runs, destructive tests are more often made by pulling the apart sample units. So most probably mass production is high in such type of industries. Obviously, they will test by using a destructive test manually. So in order to identify what are the drawbacks and defects, and either is the achieve the properties as per the customer requirement or not, that they will check up. And third important thing is, it is often less expensive to scrap a part to make destructive equality test than to test the parts using more expensive non-destructive test. So here now I am explaining about the destructive only. When you wanted to go for non-destructive, it is a costlier process. So in the destructive only, one time I can purchase the destructive testing machine, either tensile, compressive or impactive test also. But non-destructive, by light source, laser and some beam, so will be displayed into the component, like X-rays our human being, how they were test our body in ECG, and some X-rays to be made, identify the inside what happened, what any problem occurred. Similar case in this weld component material also, you have performed effectively or not. The structure, then the nuclei formation will be properly done or not. So because of heating and filler rod, both will combine together, they can able to perform good quality of weld or strong weld. So welding is a permanent joint, it cannot be retracted at all. But in the case of other riveting and all, it is a not permanent, temporary joint only. But in welding only permanent joint, that is why you should take care for performing all these type of operation. Okay, so this is what about the destructive test while performing quality destructive test, which is very less expensive compared to the non-destructive testing. That non-destructive testing also we will discuss in the next session. And look at in this the first and foremost test for the destructive test is bend test. So what is meant by bend test? Look at in this simple three-dimensional diagram, there will be two tables kept, and this rod is first initially kept horizontal, then by applying the plunger, this is a plunger or punch, whatever it may be, we can apply it, and this horizontal shape will become bent shape. Okay, bent shape. Okay, so this is also very interesting. This is a cold working process. And how do you perform the bend test in industries, etc. Look at the bend test. Generally the three major type. One is the face bend, and root bend, and side bend. So whenever the directly in the face you can apply that face of weld is tested, that is face bend, and root of the weld is tested, that is called root bend, and the sides of the weld is tested, that is the side bend. Okay, so that is why these three, okay, we will discuss. These are the three different type of bend test. One is root bend, and the second one is the face bend, and third one is the side bend. This is third one, second one, and first one. So how you can able to get depending upon the die. This is the male die, this is the female die, and how you can able to first initially you can keep the a straight rod or plate, and then you can apply with the help of this plunger. So the whatever the shape with the pressure applied, the routine shape may be obtained in this three different type of bending. So that is root bend, and face bend, and side bend are more widely used in bending testing. So this is what about there are three different type of bend test to be conducted in destructive test. One is the face bend, second one is root bend, and third one is side bend. So all these bend test, a weldment is sliced into test strips. No need to go to test all the place of the workpiece. Only where you can perform welding in that small thickness, either 5 mm or 10 mm or less than 5 mm, in that area only you can conduct this test strips, so that there is called coupon. The test strip you can also call it as a coupons, and the weld is then bent around the die of a specified size and weld to test the weld integrity. So that is why this the bend test is the one of the most important destructive test. And this is what three basic classification of the bend test, and here root bend, so which is supposed to be very inside longer, then only the growth may be obtained effectively. Okay, so this is what bend. This day same thing, and another setup of the bend test. This adjustable fillet and crown gauge is being used to check the height of the weld bead. So here this is how do you check the weld bead height of the weld bead. Okay, so in general in this figure you can clearly understand that radius bend testing mission. This is called the radius bend testing mission. So in this mission, blends are prepared and test coupon into the U form over specified radius. So which is depend on the thickness or strength of the material. After bending, we have to check the what are the outer surface or inner surface of the U, which are checked in the checked for the cross section and other industry or indicators as required by the weld inspection criteria, or the outer face of the bend may be examined by some visual inspection and photographic inspection, and different variety of inspection should be widely used. So in general, the magnetic particle test also is one important in this bend test, in order to detect the defects such as cracks, lack of fusion and lack of penetration. This is very important. So in this bend test, this cracks, lack of fusion and lack of penetration, so this leads to be some good important bend test and its what you call its criteria, and what are the defects used in this type of destructive test. Okay, I hope this is what about the destructive test of various welding. techniques. After performing this welding, you are supposed to test the bend test on three parameters such as um, root bend, face bend, and side bend, and the final setup also we can made it performing in a welded joint. Okay, so this is what about the uh, destructive test. In that we have discussed clearly about the bend test. Okay, thank you for this session. Next session we will discuss other properties like tensile and compressive and impact strengths. Okay.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.